Welcome to the podcast today. I have my good friend, Vanishree. She is the founder and CEO of Ferma. And guys, I know it is very difficult for me to pronounce both those names, so I will let my guest even reintroduce themselves. Company that you're building right now.
It's great to be here, Jax. Thanks for doing this. To introduce myself, my name is Vanishree. I'm the founder and CEO of Ferma. Ferma is a universal proof market. You might have heard zero knowledge proofs. They started in a mild manner, and now they're taking over the world. And the current phrase is that it's eating all the software in the world, because ZK is the way to specify computation so that you can verify that computation. So ZK basically is a zero knowledge proof, right? Proof. It comes with a proof and you can verify it. Let's say you ask somebody to do some heavy work because they have a big machine, and you need to, how do you know that they did the work correctly? At the end, they give you a little proof, and then you verify that proof. And because it's little and verification is easy, you can do it. You don't have to redo the whole computation again. And so that's zero knowledge proofs for you. And they add a lot of efficiency to systems, because you can think about it, right? Imagine 100 people doing the same work. And you have that kind of redundancy, so that you can be sure. That's whole blockchain, right? That's the whole consensus protocol, right? Where there is some redundancy across multiple people. They redo the work, and that's how you are sure that the work was done correctly, the computation was done correctly. Add zero knowledge proof to the mix. Only one person does the work and generates that little proof. Everybody else don't need to redo the work. They just need to verify it was done correctly. So you have the backing of those many people that work was done correctly. So anyway, zero knowledge proofs are eating the entire world's software. Slowly but surely, they are taking over crypto for sure. And I believe the entire world will be taken over by them because of their sheer power. And it's not easy to generate proofs. There you have it. It's not easy to generate proofs. You need infrastructure to generate proofs. And what we are doing is building that infrastructure to generate proofs. So
now I want to get briefly into, for people that are still unfamiliar with proofs, is I can give you an example that people may experience day to day. So let's say you wanted to go to like a bar and you have to prove that you're 18 years old or 21 years old. Well, what you could do, instead of presenting your entire ID, which would say like, I am an organ donor, I live at this address, hey, I have this particular number, you could just present the bouncer a proof, and they would be able to mathematically prove that, like, yes, Jax is above 18. I know, guys, for the listeners, you probably think I might be 16 based on my skin age, but no, I'm actually a 31-year-old man. So they would be able to prove all of that without seeing the entire thing. So one thing about ZK, and ever since I interviewed, I believe it was Lewis from Gelato, he was telling us about building a ZK rollup and how difficult it was and how computationally expensive it was. So I was almost blackpilled by ZK itself. So tell the audience, well, does ZK work? I thought it was super computationally expensive, or maybe you guys are building the infrastructure in order to support that. Talk to them a little bit about why they should be excited about ZK.
Oh, wow. Yeah. By the way, you explained zero knowledge proofs in my most favorite way. You specify how it brings privacy also, because you don't have to tell them everything. There is that aspect to zero knowledge proofs also. Now, ZK is going at such a pace. Algorithmic optimizations, hardware optimizations, mind-boggling. Orders of magnitude getting cut month by month. And some things that were very hard and even unthinkable is doable now. Things that were taking I would say hundreds of hours would take less than an hour now. That's the kind of pace of advancements we have had in CK. And your friends were right. It's right that it was cumbersome to generate proofs at that time. It is still cumbersome to generate proofs now, and I think forever it'll be cumbersome because not because of the not just because of the entire time or money it can take to generate proofs, but also because you want to have a scalable infrastructure. You cannot just give it to AWS or GCP. Why? Because they have gross profit margin of around 70%, and that'll make your work be as costly. Plus, add to that, you cannot do optimizations in AWS. Let's say you need a proof every now and then, you spin up an instance and spin it back down. You cannot optimize those machines that way. If you have like demand from around the world, you can have this dedicated network of machines and they're doing the same amount of work. You're not spinning up and down and wasting that spin up time and spin down time and the setup time. You can do all those optimizations and really slash down the prices and the proof generation time. That is exactly what we are doing.
And let's talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the infrastructure. So I've done some interviews in the past talking specifically about co-processors. Is that exactly what we're talking about? Or like, what is the infrastructure with which we are enabling faster scaling of ZKs?
With GPUs. I think there are FPGAs and ASICs, and there's some research going on. But I have this strong thesis that GPUs are the way to generate proofs, simply because the ZK space is ever advancing, and if you have the rigidity of FPGAs and ASICs, it doesn't work in the long term. Just by that argument, I have the strong thesis that GPUs are the way to generate proofs. And you mentioned coprocessors. At least in the ZK space, so coprocessors mean something more generic, but in the ZK space, a ZK coprocessor is typically it's a term used to generate proofs of computation on the history of blockchain. So there are these ZK coprocessor projects, but think of that as a specific application of ZK in blockchain. But to your important question, Don, what is the right way to generate proofs? I think there it's GPUs.
GPUs. Okay, so we've got the GPUs. You
Yeah.
guys are helping, are you creating the data centers for listeners that are completely unfamiliar with your project? Kind of walk them through even maybe the life cycle of a proof
Right.
would be quite helpful.
Right. Actually, let's start with the ideal world scenario. An ideal world scenario is there is a project. Let's take two cases: an early stage project and a very mature project in ZK. An early stage project, okay, some developer, okay, let me build this application using ZK because that's the right way to go. And what is the next thing? They build the code. Okay, how do we generate proofs? How do I test this code? Do I have to go and do it on AWS? I don't have that much seed money. What do I do? Because it's going to cost me a lot on AWS. What am I going to do? That's case one. We'll figure out an answer. Case two, very mature project. Think of ZK Sync. They've been around for a while. They have had a lot of success. They generate a lot of proofs on a daily basis. Now, should they generate proofs on AWS, they have to figure out how many machines at a time. What is the right hardware configuration? How do you orchestrate which instance should generate which part of the proof? So much to figure out. Ideal world scenario for both the cases. An infrastructure, I don't have to worry about anything. There is a pricing, there is a competitive pricing by this infrastructure. So price is taken care of. And the user experiences or the developer experience is that you just give the proof request and pay for it, and Out comes the proof. That's it. How everything it is done has to go under the hood. That's the life. That should be the life cycle from the point of from in the ideal world, from the point of view of a user or developer, right? Now, how do we achieve this? How do we achieve this whole life cycle with Ferma? Let's take the veil apart and see how within Ferma the life cycle looks like. So, excuse me. Let's first consider a developer. What is their development life cycle, and then once they develop, for a user, what is the life cycle of generating a proof? For a developer, let's say they have their proof system already ready, or maybe they are thinking about proof system. Let's take the simpler example of, let's say there are so many proof systems, right? ZKVMs, circuits. There are so many proof systems. They choose a proof system. There are three things that they need to choose: a proof system, the hardware configuration, and the third thing, which is not proof system specific, but what is it that you're going to prove? It's the logic, business logic. These three things, they come ready with, let's say, prover. They have a prover. It's a prover. They deploy the prover on our network. The way it works is they Dockerize it and give it to us. We figure out where it should go, etc. And they tell us, this is the most important part. They tell us whether they care about cost, whether they care about speed, and they tell us, look, I have AWS. I checked this on AWS or GCP. I can get my proofs generated in $10. That's the max I'm going to pay. If you end up charging more, I'm just going to go and buy my proof on AWS, generate my proof on AWS. That's what they tell us. This is their prep to us. This is their initial statement to us. We take them and then say, you're ready. Whenever you need to generate a proof, give us a proof request. They give their users, let's say now they have users. A user sends a proof request. We from their perspective, we know for which proof system, for which application this request is coming from somehow. We generate proof and we send it back, and they pay accordingly. And we know this is the max. If our market is going above that, we don't even bid to them. If they say $10 and our market is $11 per proof, we don't. Hey, sorry. If it is less than that, then we say we can generate that proof, and we take their money and give their proof. And under the hood, the important part, the one part that is, I think, most important to say, is that we are a marketplace. We don't deploy this we don't have a data center. We come with this thesis that you need a distributed network of machines, distributed network of GPUs to generate proofs instead of a centralized architecture. Why? Because of two main reasons. One is it's just more resilient to any faults. The second one is it'll become cheaper. It goes against the typical framework in our minds. Centralized, it has to be super efficient because centralized systems come with efficiency. So it has to be super efficient. So our settings should be inefficient is the initial thinking. But no, it's completely the other way around. And here is why. One is the main reason is a very simple reason. It's just something that I already mentioned, which is that these centralized cloud compute providers, they have very high gross margin targets. And these machines, they were mining back in the day, and they have these idle machines, and they want, their profit margins aren't that high, and just by that we are going to slash a huge portion of proving costs. Like I said, we have this smart orchestrating capability in the center. So Ferma is a marketplace, like I said, right? There's demand and there's supply, and at the center is something that we have built. It's this orchestration machinery. It takes proof requests and it gives it to the right machine on the supply side, and it does it in such a way that you really increase the utilization rate of the machines. Thereby, by doing that, think about think from the perspective of a machine owner, right? They if they're idle, they're not making money. Then you have to over incentivize them somehow. The money has to come out of somebody's pocket, likely from the end users. If though on the other hand, if you give them enough business, then their utilization rate is high. You don't have to over incentivize. Effective cost for the end user is low. This is ensured by a lean and smart orchestration engine that we have built. So there you have it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you recently announced, partnerships with ZK Sync and Scroll. Talk to us a little bit about how you serve these particular projects.
Right, there are ZK rollups. There are ZK rollup ecosystems, right? It's right in their category, ZK. They need to generate proofs. They need a way to generate proofs in a cheap and performant manner, and we do that for them.
Easy peasy. All right, simple enough. Well, talk to us a little bit about the developments in ZK technology that are most exciting to you these days.
ZK space has been so fascinating in the past few years. So I'll give you a little bit of my history and my relationship with ZK. So I learned, let's go all the way back. Let's start there. Back in India, godforsaken town, undergrad kid, don't know anything about the world, but somehow came across zero knowledge proofs and its beauty. And how do you describe zero knowledge proofs? It is a technique with which you can convince somebody that something is true without telling them why it is true. And just that, if you just stare at it for a second, without knowing that zero knowledge proofs exist, it's mind boggling, right? How is it possible that you can convince somebody that something is true without telling them it's true? For example, how can I convince you that I solved the Sudoku puzzle without telling you anything about the solution? Like, how can you be sure that I have the solution? You need to check the entirety of the solution somehow? But zero knowledge proofs give us a way for me to convince you that I have solved it, and you have no idea whatsoever on content of any cell for the solution. So this is how I learned about zero knowledge proofs back in the day when I was an undergrad. A professor told me about it, and since then I just kind of knew that this is exactly what I want to work on for the rest of my life, in a very organic way, in a very intuitive way. I was so drawn to it. This is the technology that I'm drawn to so deeply. And since then, I did my PhD in zero knowledge proofs and multi-party computation protocols, two cryptographic techniques. And I did this PhD with Professor Amit Sahai. He's at UCLA, and he has contributed so much to this world of zero knowledge proofs. He's done so many foundational works, and a lot of what is getting built today is based on what he had done back in the day. So it was amazing to work with him. After that, I kept wanting to work in zero knowledge proofs, but there was, before crypto, there was barely any cryptography beyond signatures, or maybe somebody was working on e-voting systems, right? Or encryption, of course. But all this research of very interesting technology was limited to research papers. That's all, right? And then came along Zcash and Mina, the Mina protocol, which is one of the OG zero knowledge proof protocols. I learned about Mina in its very early days, and I joined the Mina protocol as one of the earliest employees, I think fourth or fifth employee, I think. And I was there for 4 years. built the consensus protocol, worked on a lot of zero knowledge aspects, worked on a lot of cryptography aspects and all. And now, since then, so even starting Zcash, right? Since then, the pace at which ZK is going is astounding. When before that, I had seen ZK, right? I had seen all the pace of ZK in academia very closely, and that was slow, right? That was slow. But here, it's incredible. Like things that were believed to be impossible, in a month, they would become possible. That's the kind of pace that ZK is going. Things that I'm excited about are just this. Like, every now and then there is a new way to generate proofs. The winning proof system today is not the winning proof system tomorrow. It's also part of our business thesis. Why did we? So my background was ZK, right? You would think that I would be happy thinking about ZK day in and day out, thinking about proof systems day in and day out. Why didn't we build a proof system? Because I came with this belief that it didn't make that huge a business sense for us, because we knew that a winning proof system today is not going to be a winning proof system tomorrow, and we didn't want to limit ourselves to a single proof system. Instead, what we said, hey, let's build a universal proof market. Universal in the sense that it can generate proofs for any proof system. This is more of a distributed systems project, but not a very ZK project. But this is what we did, and that is true. Like there is a new product. I actually got a sneak peek into a new proof system that some team is building. They haven't yet published, and when they were explaining it, I was mind boggled. You can really do that. This is exactly what happens every month in ZK space. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. So finally, like one of our big focuses on the podcast is talking about, projects that people can build. We have a strong interest in AI specifically, but we're open to any kind of like startup ideas or builder ideas that you think are interesting in, the crypto space in general. What do you think is worth building these days if you couldn't work on your current project?
There are people going at it from various directions, and I think the whole design space is not fully explored. So you can build a platform for. Here is an example. Yeah, here is one example. I'll give a couple more examples. Here is an example. I'll give you two ways that people are going at AI, and I'll give you maybe a design space. Maybe there are so many other things that are not explored. These two are just basically examples. ZKML. ZKML is this category in itself where you generate proofs for correct AI computations, right? But like your friend mentioned, ZK is heavy. It gets heavier and heavier when the computation gets heavier and heavier, right? So it becomes less and less feasible to go that route if the computation is bigger and bigger. So that's one category. The other category is this category of, let's say, hyperbolic. It's a project in AI, and the way the way they introduce a notion of verification for AI is not through ZK. With ZK, you get this succinct verifiability, right? The way they introduce is by redundancy. Let's say one person does AI inference, you just have a few more people do that and then tally the results. That's how they do it. Full ZK, no ZK. I think introduce sprinkle in ZK in between, speaking very, very roughly. But here can be something interesting. Here is an idea. Actually, I don't think anybody has ever tried it. So here is a wild idea, right? Think of AI inference. There are certain parts, let's say it has 50 total parts. You generate proofs for them separately. Yeah. Or maybe write proofs for the parts that are easy to fake. Don't do the entire thing, right? Write proofs for the parts that are easy to fake. Only prove those parts. And And instead of aiming to create one single proof for the entire thing, which again is going to be hard. If you take 10 different proofs and you want to generate one single proof for it, it's also a proof generation task, and it again will be big. Instead of that, give these 10 pieces to maybe you have 100 people, sprinkle it among these people, have them verify. Somehow maybe you will detect some badly generated proof. So at a high level, think of this as a spectrum. There is space in between, unexplored space in between. So that's one idea. It's in the intersection of two extremely hot areas, AI and ZK. I think that I would love to see projects in that area, and there are apps that you can build on top of it.
Absolutely. Well, builders, get to it. And finally, where can people learn more about what's next for your project? Where can they get involved and connect with you online?
Yeah, we just went live on testnet recently, and we are doing it very, very carefully because we have these live customers and really, really successful customers. We have to be really good in our network, and that is why it is a phased, incentivized testnet. And right now, we focus on getting these institutional approvers on the supply side because of the kind of machine sizes you need to generate these proofs. We are so we will let everybody know. I think there might be something where all of us can get involved and have fun with ZK. So I would say stay tuned for it.
Very exciting. And any Twitter or any kind of social media you want to call out?
Yes, please follow us on Twitter, Ferma, Twitter, or they can write to me, they can DM me, or they can DM on Ferma if they have any questions. They want to learn more about our project, or if they are thinking about building in ZK. And I just even if they are not at a situation where they have figured out their business logic, they can just DM me if they need quick advice. Yep.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, we'll put all the links in the description. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and let's continue building the future of Web3.